All right. Welcome back, everybody. Greg Rock here from Business Architecture Institute. Lucky enough to have Simona Loven with us, Director of Operations and Strategic Initiatives at Leidos, a leading healthcare organization. And Simona, we've talked a little bit about what first got you interested in architecture and how you were able to apply that at certain organizations and the benefit that they saw from that. So now, of course, we have to ask, what do you think the future holds for business architecture? And, what do we have to do to stay in lockstep with the future needs of the organization and the advances we're seeing in technology?
So, Greg, in one of my articles published on the Business Architecture Institute's website, I was making the case that the traditional methods that make up the standard business architecture canon, they tend to assume a sort of a slow changing, a relatively predictable business environment. A business environment where you don't have major, shocks to the system, major external or internal upheavals, essentially an environment that can wait for the business architect to do the architecting. Now, in real life, I think what we're seeing is that business organizations are subject to continuous change, and that change happens in a nonlinear fashion. In the past few years, and I think I'm not the only one saying this, it really seems like the speed of change in the external environment surrounding today's organization has accelerated. And it's probably because of changes in the economic environment, political changes, social changes, technological changes, and all of that gets mirrored into what's happening within an organization.
Right.
And what that means is that the internal texture of an organization is continuously pulled in different directions. And there's a continuous effort going on to adapt to this push and pull. I mean, just think of what's happened, what we've seen happening over the past few years. We had the recession in early 2020, high unemployment. We had the pandemic, the move to virtual work, the change in administration, climate events, the great resignation, and I can go on and on, right? High inflation now, perhaps another recession coming up. So all of these events, one way or another, they have business implications. And this internal push and pull that I was talking about, it generates friction. And the friction that's created, if it's managed properly and if it's treated as a positive development rather than as something negative that needs to be stymied, it can lead to innovations. It can lead to new business strategies, new business processes, governance models, new technologies, new skills, and so on. So what this means for business architects is that there are possibilities for them to kind of ride this wave and to build on the existing body of knowledge and create new and innovative offshoots of the business architecture discipline that are perhaps better suited to capture the nonlinear and the rapidly changing nature of the business. For instance, I can see business architects getting deeper into business modeling. And perhaps using something like the futures wheel framework, which is by no means new, but coupled with, say, the business generation framework put forth by Alexander Osterwalder, which is a great tool for exploring the strategy for a new business or a new line of business. Another possible path that I see is getting into decision modeling. We talked about that. Business rules definition, getting into systems dynamics, modeling and simulation, where there's most likely a role for AI/ML to play in there, artificial intelligence. Just think about something like architecting a complex supply chain, like the supply chain for the future space economy. And by this, the transport and the exchange of goods and services in space, which is something that some have already started working on. All the methods that I mentioned before they have a role to play in that. And, to leave you with a thought here, I would say the technologies that we have these days and that are emerging, the tools that we have, they make it easier and easier for non-technologists to get
Right.
into the game. And I think the closer we get to modeling the organization in motion, rather than representing point-in-time views of the organization, I think the better we'll be able to inform decision-making by predicting where the organization is going to be given a certain set of circumstances. So to me, that this is really the end goal, capturing the organization in motion, being able to make informed predictions that are business relevant.
Right. No, I think that's a great point, Simona. I mean, with all the change that we see, it's one of the only constants we have, right, is change. And, those are different opportunities that then need to be mapped to different skills within the organization. And business architecture is well positioned to help folks continue to evolve that strategy, as it deals with market conditions and new opportunities, mergers and acquisitions, and a host of other things along the way. So we appreciate you coming down and giving advice to some folks that may be just getting started on the business architecture path, and also some that are started on their way. And we hope that we can continue to educate folks on what's coming down the pike next. One of the things you mentioned is, folks being able to do things in a more real-time and agile way. Some of those things we cover in a new curriculum that we have focused on digital transformation, where we talk about low-code, no-code platforms and the concept of citizen developers. Many organizations are struggling to find resources to do that coding. And so the tools are getting better and better so that folks don't necessarily have to be coders in order to put together applications and dashboards in order to assist the company in fulfilling their strategy and their mission. So I agree with those sentiments. Thank you again, Simona, so much. We appreciate your participation in the community and your contributions. For folks, if they want to see some of the work that Simona has shared with us in the past, you can find her on the BA Institute website and do a search in our resources section, and maybe in another need to know video in the future, Simona.
Sounds very good. Thank you, Greg. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Have a great day now. Bye-bye.
You too.